Welcome to A Moment of Zen. Time to sit back and relax as model, actress, mentor, and supermom Zen Sams takes you on a sexy and wild ride, covering the latest in film, fashion, pop culture, cryptocurrency, fintech, cannabis, and entertainment from the millennial mom's perspective. Here's your host, Zen Sams.
Welcome back, New York City and beautiful tri-state area. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, iHeartRadio. I'm your host, Zen Sams. Welcome to episode 235. That's right, celebrating over 5.5 years on the air. Here's to another very exciting episode. It's always such a pleasure to spend my time with you on the airwaves. Thank you so much for tuning in every Saturday night and engaging with me on social media. That truly makes it all worthwhile. Please continue to follow me at Zen Sams. That's Zen with an X, not a Z. And remember, all episodes of A Moment of Zen are available on our YouTube channel Sundays at 2 p.m. via digital streaming. And you can also check us out on Your Home TV platform directly on our channel at mox.yourhometv.com. Welcome back to A Moment of Zen, where we cover film, fashion, pop culture, health, cryptocurrency, fintech, cannabis, and everything in between from the millennial mom's perspective. In the Hydration with Heart segment brought to you by Once Upon a Coconut, we're chatting the Rebel Renaissance with Coach Dan Mullen as he ushers in a new era for UNLV, the University of Las Vegas football team, and now he's redefining culture, recruiting, and expectations for the team. In the Right Brain segment brought to you by the Melillo Centers, we take a deep dive into the right brain, left brain, and the creative's mind with actor Johnathon Schaech, Dr. Robert Melillo, and Ellis Melillo. In our Going Deep segment brought to you by CO2 Lift, today we're joined by Kristina Menissov. She's a singer, songwriter, and international model. We're going to be chatting music, modeling, motherhood, and her one secret skincare hack. In the Better, Brighter You segment brought to you by Suspera, we take you from Yankee Stadium to the skincare clinic with Dr. Leanne Mack. She's a board-certified dermatologist and founder of Glam Derm with locations right here in New York City and Scarsdale. We're chatting winning against the sun, sweat, and skin stress. In the Clean Collective Express segment brought to you by Society Brands and Clinomic, I'm going to be covering microplastics. That's right, they're everywhere. Stay tuned for Coach Dan Mullen coming up next in the Hydration with Heart segment brought to you by Once Upon a Coconut. You're listening to A Moment of Zen. I'm your host, Zen Sams. We'll be right back after this.
A Moment of Zen is brought to you by the Fieldhouse in Northvale, New Jersey, a vibrant and fresh take on youth and adult sports and family fun, and home to the New Jersey Thunder softball program. Plan unforgettable birthday parties or private events, or explore camps and programs that keep kids active and inspired. Take time for yourself in adult leagues or rent a field or court with friends. From a cutting-edge gaming cave to hitting and pitching centers and top-tier sports instructors, the Fieldhouse is reigniting the next generation of play. Head to njfieldhouse.com.
Welcome back, beautiful tri-state area. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, iHeartRadio. I'm your host, Zen Sams. This week on A Moment of Zen in the Hydration with Heart segment brought to you by Once Upon a Coconut, we're diving into the world of college football with a coach who knows exactly how to turn programs into powerhouses. Dan Mullen, the new head coach of UNLV football, brings nearly 3 decades of experience, 103 career wins, and a legacy that includes grooming NFL greats like Tim Tebow and Alex Smith. He's led teams to top 10 national finishes, an SEC championship game appearance, and 8 straight bowl games. That's a ton. Now he's bringing the same championship mindset to the Rebels with a focus on culture, recruiting, and building a team that thrives not only on the field, but in life. And as NFL legend Vince Lombardi once said, leaders aren't born, they are made. And they are made just like anything else through hard work. That couldn't be more fitting as Coach Mullen ushers in a new era for UNLV. The Rebel Renaissance. We're going to chat how there's a new era for UNLV football, how he's redefining culture, recruiting, and expectations for the team. Welcome to the show, superstar.
It's great to be with you. It's a beautiful day here in Las Vegas.
It is a beautiful day everywhere. And let's chat about the culture shift. Okay, so culture isn't just a buzzword, right, Coach? It's the backbone, I believe, of every successful program. We've seen how you transformed Florida from unranked to a top 10 program in just one season, and Mississippi State into a number 1 ranked team during your tenure. So what's the cultural reset you're instilling at UNLV, and how do you get players to buy into a new vision right from day one?
Well, I think one of the most important things when you take over a program, you have to have a great understanding of where the program is. And UNLV, when I took over in December, is coming off an 11-win season. UNLV was successful last year, and their coach moved on. And so I think one of the things I met with all the players when I got here, and the guys that we retained, we brought a lot of new faces in. Over, I think, 60% of our roster is brand new players, either from recruiting or transfer portal. But the guys that were here, I said, hey, I have my culture, my thoughts, my way of doing things. I'm going to install, I know how to do it. I've been successful at a lot of places, but I also want you to share what you've done here well that you want me to incorporate in how I do things. And I know people think they're on national TV, they're getting paid now. A lot of them are celebrities, but they're still young college kids. You know, they're 18 to 22 years old, most of them. And you have to sit there and figure out how you're going to motivate them into becoming successful. And if they think that you care about them and you can help them accomplish their goals, they're going to believe in what you're doing. And that's one of the things I wanted to make sure we brought in is our new way of doing things is going to merge with how they've been successful here in the past, to get everyone to buy in and believe in the culture that we're trying to build, which that culture is how to be successful.
That's right. And that's so powerful, especially in today's college football landscape where culture often determines whether a team can sustain success, which brings me to recruiting is the lifeblood of college football. With these NIL deals, Coach, and the transfer portal reshaping the landscape, UNLV is in the perfect city to attract top-tier athletes, right? So how do you plan to leverage Las Vegas as a recruiting tool and bring SEC-level talent and mentality to UNLV?
Well, you know, we're the sports and entertainment capital of the world. And right here, I think in the transfer portal world, it kind of helps us. There's a lot of these guys have gone out, they've played at a lot of different schools, and they look and they say, hey, the development within our program, we take a lot of pride in development. That's one thing that gets lost in the transfer portal world is a lot of guys are going and they're saying, hey, I got to play right now. I need this. I need stats. And I sit down with everybody and I say, hey, listen, if you're not worried about your development, you're not going to improve. You're not going to become the player you need to be. So if you come here to UNLV, we are going to develop you as a football player on the field. We're also going to help you off the field. But, you know, a lot of the guys in today's world, they want to hear, how can you help me be a better football player?
Yeah.
You have unbelievable facilities here. You get to do it. We played at Allegiant Stadium, which we share with the Raiders. So you're doing it at top in one of the best stadiums in all of the country. And you have the lifestyle of Las Vegas with you. We're the only school in the country. We're now in the age of NIL. We're part of the NIL deals. Our guys are ringside at UFC and championship boxing fights. You have the Vegas Knights in town. Guys are at Raiders games. They're at every Las Vegas show you could want. We have every restaurant, every type of whatever you're interested in. Las Vegas offers it for you.
Vegas really does sell itself. And I'm reminded I keep going back to these quotes of Deion Sanders at Colorado, who said, if you look good, you feel good. And if you feel good, you play good. And that's, and that's Vegas in a nutshell. And you're giving players a stage that's hard to match. So really. Now you've coached some of the greatest quarterbacks of our time, from Tim Tebow to Alex Smith, and quarterbacks are often the heartbeat of a program. So what's your philosophy on quarterback development, and how do you plan to shape UNLV's offense around the talent you inherit and recruit?
Josh Harris at Bowling Green, Alex Smith, Tim Tebow, all the way up to Dak Prescott at Mississippi State, who's now with the Cowboys, and Anthony Colandrea, our quarterback here. If you lined all my quarterbacks up, you'd say there's no way that all of these guys were successful running the same offense. Some are big, some are small, some are fast, some are slow. Some can really throw the ball. Some are much better runners. And I get through with what's important at the quarterback position. It starts with mental and physical toughness because they are inherently the leaders of the team. I always say this: if you miss one class, it tells everybody else they can miss 5. If you miss one run, everybody else can miss 5. So you have got to have the mental and physical toughness to do it right at all times.
I love this narrative. They
have to have great leadership. Right? They have to have the ability that the team believes as long as we have this guy at our quarterback, we can win the game. No matter what the situation, what the scenario, We have our quarterback. And if we have him, we have the opportunity to win the game. I think that is so. If you have mental, physical toughness, leadership, the third one that people miss a lot is how you process information. And if you look at great quarterbacks, in life, there's not a lot of things that, again, we get into human nature where I need you to take the ball, drop back, stand still while a 300-pound man is trying to come and hit you as hard as they possibly can. But you don't pay attention to that. You just process information down the field. There's about 30 things we ask our quarterbacks to process within about a lot of times, within about 3 seconds. The fourth one is intelligence, right? The smarter they are, the more we can do. If they have those 4 things, they have what's called the it. And you take the Tom Brady's of the world, everybody, those are guys that had the it. Now, the coach's job is then take, how well do you throw? What throws can you do well, right? How fast are you? Can you run? Can you do these things? And design the offense and the plays we're going to run around that, as long as they have those other traits, which are the important it factor traits.
Which brings me to competing on the national stage. So you've proven you can lead teams to national prominence. We have Florida climb back to the top 10 and Mississippi State reach number 1 under your leadership. What will it take for UNLV to not only compete for Mountain West titles, but also earn national respect on the bigger college football stage?
The goal for us is always, and when you look at things, is worry about what you can control. If we can get better every single day as a team, if we can reach our potential every day, just be the best we can be today, we'll put ourselves in the opportunity to win a Mountain West championship. If we win the Mountain West championship, we've put ourselves on the radar for that committee to give us the opportunity to go vote for the playoffs. If we get for the playoffs, let's just worry about being the best we can be in that game. And if we can find a way to do that, all of a sudden, UNLV is going to be back on the national stage, which, probably the school in athletics hasn't been since the Runnin' Rebels of the early 90s with the basketball program. But, I think that buildup for us, we kind of have a motto. I want to try to play. There's a lot of people say, hey, how do you set up schedules? I want to try to play the toughest schedule we can play. We're out there. We're college schools. Please come play us. We'll play you. And a lot of bigger conference schools are kind of saying, no, we're okay, thanks. We don't want to play you right now. But, that's kind of part of the deal is how do we get ourselves that way? We'll play anyone, anywhere, anytime. And if we can win the Mountain West championship, get into the college football playoffs, we have the opportunity then to make a statement on the national stage. And that's what you need. I've talked about it to our guys in certain games, right? You want to have these great moments in life, which is winning football games. But to have that, you have to have the opportunity to present itself. But the shame is you also have to be prepared when that opportunity presents itself. If you want to have great moments in life, you have to have opportunity. But if not just have opportunity, you have to be prepared when that opportunity presents itself. And if you're completely prepared for that opportunity, you get to create a great moment for yourself.
Preach. There you go. and Bill Belichick is going to tell you, right, on to the next game. Success comes when those little wins add up into something historic. And I love that. It's about taking the long view and building a foundation brick by brick. And that's what you seem to be doing. So let's chat leadership beyond football. So 76 of your players have been drafted into the NFL. But your legacy also extends to shaping men of character way beyond who succeed beyond football, right? So how do you balance preparing athletes for the NFL with preparing them for life after football?
Well, I think, you say, and that's so great. I've had 76, but I've coached so many more than 7. I've coached thousands of guys, which means a lot don't make it to the NFL. And I think, one of the things that you look, I think football can teach you so many great lessons in life. And I tell our guys, if you just take the lessons you learn in our program and you apply it to other facets of life, it's going to work for you. The path to success, and I try to do this for all of our guys. And again, and trying to keep things simple, and as you see when you do interviews, right, or anybody that's listening, what's one thing they can take away from this? Even if you get too in-depth and too complicated, it's too complicated to take things with you. I share with all our guys, just let's keep it simple. The path to success in life, whether you're on the football field, whether you want to go to med school, whether you want a media career, okay, you want to get into law enforcement, or you want to open your own restaurant. It starts with one, hard work. You have to be willing to put in hard work. Okay. And that is, a lot of people are scared of hard work. A lot of people don't want to work hard because just because you work hard, there's no guarantee of success. But if you don't work hard, there is guarantee that you won't succeed. So you have to work hard, one, and be willing to do it. Two, you have to make sacrifices. Okay. You don't get what you want in life. You just don't. Okay. But if you work hard, you can get what you need. So if you're willing to work hard and you're willing to put in the sacrifices next, which in today's world, we live in this instant gratification society. Most people, they don't want to do it. Most people are going to give up right before the end, which gets you to the third step, which is commitment. So if I can work hard, I'm willing to make sacrifices, and I'm committed to accomplishing my goal, you can really accomplish anything you want, okay, in this life and in this world. But that's not easy to do. It's really easy to say, really hard to do.
You're a great communicator on top of being an incredible coach. And I interview a lot of people, and it shows because you have intent in every word. And that's where personal motivation comes in. So you've spent 3 years as an ESPN analyst, and now you're back on the sidelines. Coaching is really high pressure. It's high stakes. So what personally motivated you to come back into coaching at UNLV, and what excites you most about this chapter of your career?
I'm having a lot of fun. So I'll start with what excites me is I love being back in the game. I love being around the team, around the players every day. And I'm just having a lot of fun. And, being away from college football for a couple of years, maybe really recharged me. But what got me back, really is similar to that. There are several events last year where we had reunions with different teams where I got around the players. And when you get around your former players, and all of them came up, and it wasn't just now the players, because now they're older, and their wives are coming up to me, and they have their kids, and the players are coming up and said, "Hey, coach, what's crazy now is I'm out there in the backyard. I'm with my son, and I'm yelling the same thing at my son that you yelled at me." Right. And, but that shows I made a positive impact. I made the impact, and they're coming up and like, "Coach, I didn't always get it. You'd always preach about all these different things in life that we need to do. Now that I have my own family, now that I have my own business, now that I've gone away from football, I understand the messages. Now I really get what you were saying. I thought it was just about, us trying to be a better football team or win the game that week. And I really realize it's more than that. You have wives coming up and saying, "Hey, you made such an impact on my husband's life." And that is really what it's all about. I always put it this, there's no bigger reward in life than making a positive impact on a young person's life. And that's what I get so much out of that, of seeing the success that these guys have 10 years down the road. Coaching, the wins, the high of a win is one of the greatest highs you'll ever get. Yeah. The low of a loss is one of the biggest lows there. I'm not a big drug person, but the highs and lows of winning and losing, I can't imagine there's a bigger high or a lower low than those things, but they come and go very quickly week to week. But that positive impact that you make on people's lives, that is the lasting reward of what you get as a coach. And so when I met with all these players last year, and I realized, I'm involved in the game of football. I'm enjoying what I'm doing. I'm back. I get to spend a lot more time with my family, doing the TV side of things. But, I'm not making positive impact on people's lives as much as I could be. And, that's, and I guess to be a hypocrite, I get frustrated with things. If God gives someone a talent and they don't use it, and then they want to complain about why they're not successful, right? That's a pet peeve of mine. And, I guess my talent God's given me is to help use the game of football to make positive impact on people's lives. And I haven't been using it if I'm sitting in the TV studio. So I need to get back out there and help these young men and make positive impact in their lives.
Coach, this has been such an energizing conversation, and your vision for UNLV football is nothing short of inspiring. And it's clear that a rebel renaissance is on the horizon.
Let's hope so. We got to keep winning, keep finding ways to win every week, but more importantly, keep finding ways to get better every single week. That's the most important thing we can control.
You said it. You can follow Coach Dan Mullen and the UNLV football program on UNLVrebels.com and across social media at UNLV football and at Coach Dan Mullen. You're listening to A Moment of Zen. I'm your host, Zen Sams. That was the Hydration with Heart segment brought to you by Once Upon a Coconut. Fuel your body, fuel your passion, and fuel your purpose. We'll be right back after this.
A Moment of Zen is brought to you by Once Upon a Coconut.
Discover the refreshing taste of 100% pure coconut water that actually tastes great. Naturally sweet with no artificial flavors or added sugar. It's packed with electrolytes to keep you hydrated throughout your day. And with 10% of profits going to charity, every sip makes a difference. Pure taste, pure goodness. Experience nature's Gatorade. Visit Once Upon a Coconut or naturesgatorade.com.
Welcome back, beautiful tri-state area. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, iHeartRadio. I'm your host, Zen Sams. Welcome back to the Right Brain segment where science meets storytelling. Today we're chatting neuroscience meets Hollywood, the actor's mind and right brain resilience with Johnathon Schaech, Dr. Robert Melillo, and the incredible Ellis Melillo. A groundbreaking conversation at the intersection of science and storytelling, exploring how right brain dominance fuels artistry, how brain balance shapes mental health and resilience, and why understanding the neurological roots of creativity matters now more than ever in the entertainment industry. Johnathon Schaech is an actor, writer, and producer with over 160 credits. From That Thing You Do to his current role in Blue Ridge on Prime, Johnathon's career reflects both resilience and reinvention. Dr. Melillo, one of the world's top brain researchers and author of Disconnected Kids, is pioneering work in brain balance. He's transformed the way we understand neurological and mental health conditions. And Ellis Melillo, she's an incredible singer-songwriter whose raw storytelling and powerful vocals are carving out her own space in the music world, bringing a peer artist's lens to mental health and creativity. We're going to kick off a powerful exploration right now on how that creativity and logic collide in Hollywood. Welcome to the show, superstars.
Thank you for having us.
Great to be here again.
Johnathon, welcome back.
Well, I'm happy to be back. Happy to see you.
Okay, so let's dive right in. Johnathon, research shows actors are twice as likely to report depression compared to the general workforce. And when you think about your career, have there been any moments where mental health struggles were a part of your journey, or how did you navigate them if so?
I think I navigated them by using drugs and alcohol to ease the pain of it, get away from it. It's pretty constant. The judging yourself, comparing yourself, the failure rate, you have to learn how to have resilience because you get turned down more than anything. So yeah, I found alcohol and I found drugs to get through most of it until I decided not to do that.
And was that mainly because you were depressed, or was it anxiety? What fueled your addiction?
If I'm going to be honest, anytime I talk about anxiety or depression, I just covered it up, so I didn't really know what that was. I constantly moved forward, trying to, cover up all of that. So it's not something I really addressed until I got into 12-step program and AA and therapy.
Thank you for sharing that. I mean, it's so important right now for people listening and watching to hear the human side behind the Hollywood image. So thank you for that. Dr. Melillo, I'll hand it off to you.
A lot of people get confused, Johnathon, by anxiety and depression because it's all lumped together as words and it doesn't mean anything. From a neuroscience perspective, they're completely different areas of the brain. Depression really involves more of a left brain deficit. Anxiety is more of a, could be a right brain deficit or right brain overactivity. So that's why it gets confusing. Like, what am I feeling? Is it anxious or is it depressed? So that left brain, right brain dichotomy, in acting, like we had a singer-songwriter who was telling us how, his ability to read words and memorize the words was so hard because he was dyslexic that it affected and impacted his when he went to sing, and they get frustrated with him. So in acting, you have to use the right brain, creative, emotional, but then there's the left brain of memorizing lines and reading. And do you find that that's a struggle, and has that ever triggered any issues or anxiety for you?
Yeah, so I'm dyslexic. I didn't know that until I was older, in my 40s. So I struggled a great deal because I just thought I was stupid and I couldn't do things that other people were doing easily. People could look at the words and memorize them right away and just regurgitate them. But I did find the gifts in it that though the struggle of me trying to memorize it made me really understand it really deeply. I felt like I learned from my hands. And then when I got in the situation in front of the camera and blocking everything, I was really good at it. But yeah, the struggle of not knowing why I couldn't do what everyone else was doing was the biggest problem.
Just so you know, like half of the artists in all different creative fields that we talk with are basically dyslexic. And that is a left brain delay, but it's because they're so gifted in the right brain. And that's what can hold that back. So that your gift is also related to that. So that's
awesome.
Yeah. I'm dyslexic as well. So that's that's a lot of why we started all of this, because also I relate to what you're saying. I stopped drinking 47 days ago, but it's normally something that I feel like I use for my anxiety. You know, like once I had like 2 drinks, then I feel like I could have normal conversations with people and kind of calm down a little bit. So I've been trying to just stay consistent with that and navigate it in other ways. But yeah, that's why I was wondering if you've ever used like your craft of acting or writing or producing as an outlet for your mental health challenges.
I have. You know, I had an acting teacher who named Roy London that put in my brain that the roles will come to you and there's going to be something in them that you have to work through to get closer to your true self and your truth. So I found myself like, you know, after a breakup, I'd play a guy who was heartbroken, you know, so I felt like I was living that life. That's what you mean. Like I felt like it was meant for me as an artist to play the role.
And coming full circle, who are you playing now? If you think of it, right?
I'm playing my father.
Right. But how fitting is that? Because that you stepped into that role, right? And which brings me to, when you look at the reports, the CDC reports that 1 in 5 adults live with a mental illness or a mental health disorder, but stigma often keeps people silent, right? So have you personally faced that stigma in Hollywood? And what would you say to break it for the next generation of actors?
I did have something that I spoke out about. I was sexually abused by a director in my very first screen test. And I never truly understood what had happened until the Me Too movement happened and Rose McGowan spoke out about what happened to her with Harvey Weinstein. And it was exactly my life. And I was sober, so I was able to hear it and accept it and then do a lot of work on it. And then I spoke out and I shared with my experience because I thought there's not many men talking about this. And I had enough faith and conviction that I could get through. But I was silenced after I did. It felt like I was silenced. I don't know if I was silenced.
Well, yeah, and you were 22 when that happened, right? You were a boy. I mean, sure, you were a man, but you were still little. And that director, you know, we could say his name, Franco Zeffirelli, cast you as the lead in his movie Sparrow, and that was in 1992. So being sexually abused by him during that's trauma that you kept quiet for 25 years, Johnathon. I mean, and coming out and saying it and really empowering yourself and others and learning to deal with that's no easy feat. And number one, thank you for being transparent, but thank you for coping with it in a way where you've showed grace and humility throughout your entire career without making that the focal point of your demise, right?
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, no, wow.
Thank you.
Yeah. Was there a role or a project where you felt most vulnerable, and what did that vulnerability teach you about yourself?
Well, that thing you do. I had to be a singer in it, and I knew that they weren't going to use my voice. Not to say that I could sing or I couldn't sing. I don't think I could sing like Mike Viola, who actually sang the song. But it created. So one thing that happened with Zeffirelli. So after he came into my room that night of the screen test, and then I had to make a movie with him, and I couldn't avoid him. I was with him all throughout filming, and he you can imagine how he was. but I knew at that moment, it was going to enter my room again. I didn't want him in my world. I was trying to figure out how to handle that. And by the end of it, he was very upset with me. So much so that he tried to come back in my room and I wouldn't let him. And he used another actor's voice to dub my voice. Right. So I had this great fear that all the hard work that I had done as an artist was going to be taken away from me, because when my first movie comes out, it's not going to be my voice. And I worked really hard. I worked at Royal Academy of Dramatic Arts. I studied speaking with distinction with Edith Skinner. It just did all this hard work, and he just dubbed it because I did not allow him to do what he wanted to do or what he was accustomed to doing. And so when I was playing That Thing You Do, and they didn't take my voice away. They told me before I started that I wasn't going to have my voice. I had this disconnect between my character and the singing part. And I just took it so personal, and it wasn't that. And so I've struggled a great deal with that. And yeah, that was the hardest thing, that it wasn't my voice, but they took great care of me, and they told me it wasn't because of my voice. But you can imagine I was the one had this hidden secret, that he dubbed my voice in the movie because all of this stuff was just layered.
Wow, that is, wow. When you look at a NAMI report found that like 75% of entertainment professionals have faced real burnout. So how have you built this resilience that I'm seeing right now and kept your passion alive after decades in such a demanding industry, both mentally, physically, and emotionally?
Good question. I can't get emotional because I'm sick. I'm going to start crying and then coughing. And
I got you. No, you could cry.
I'm trying. I swear to God, my sinuses will open up and I will turn into a mush. I have my mother and my father instilled a great deal of faith in me. And my father, he knew, he didn't know how to help me with my career as a cop. He couldn't, he would pray for me, and all he kept doing was trying to give me a faith. So, because he knew that the faith I could carry in the darkest of times. And that was true. I think I held on to my faith through these dark times. Even though I couldn't understand what had happened to me or what was happening, I still had a love for a power greater than myself. And, once I was able to, I got through everything through my faith. I got everything through my faith. I'm a survivor because of my faith. Even in the darkest times when I didn't want to be on this earth anymore, the thing that kept me from pulling the trigger was my faith in God.
And resilience, by the way, is a right brain function, is literally networks in the brain, and it is nurtured by parents, especially in early childhood. So, your parents had something to do with nurturing that part of your brain, but also you were born with this natural creativity. That's your trait. But I know that, raising a creative right brain daughter and having other children that are incredibly talented, that family, fatherhood, mentorship has always provided balance for me in my life, and especially during difficult times when you're focusing on your children. Do you feel that way as well? Has it helped you during those times?
Oh my God, absolutely. Having children balances everything. And it makes me really take pause a lot more. And I'm very grateful for the presence that I have with them that I didn't have when I was younger. They definitely make me want to be a better human being and to protect them from the things that you were talking about earlier. But that's amazing. My father, very creative, incredible artist. And he gifted me all that stuff. It's amazing to look back at that. Thank you.
Yeah. He always kind of talks about how it makes sense when parents are artists or more right brain, that they have more right brain children as well. But I have a good balance. My dad is a little bit of right brain and left brain, and my mom is definitely very artistic. So what advice would you give young artists, like especially those who feel pressure to be perfect while struggling privately. Because I just want to say also, I really admire how open you're being right now. And yeah, I really admire it. So thank you.
You're welcome. And perfection isn't real. You know, God is perfect. We are not. We're imperfect. We're sinners. We make mistakes. And we have to know that. It's one thing, big part of the program that saved me and kept me sober for such a long time is realizing that I'm not perfect. You don't need to always get it right. You're going to have, the vulnerabilities are the gifts that you're going to be able to give others. So perfection is not real. God is perfect. We are not.
Yeah.
It's wonderful.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I love that.
And Johnathon, I mean, most people know you from a lot of the earlier stuff you've done, right? How to Make an American Quilt back in 1995, right? Tom Hanks's directorial debut that you mentioned, that thing you do in 1996. You've come a very long way. And I think the sum of all of your experiences, good, bad, ugly, and in between, I truly, truly believe you're exactly where you're supposed to be right now. And I say that wholeheartedly, right? I say that even watching your evolution. Like, I watched that thing you do like on an airplane on the way to TIFF, actually. And watching you in Blue Ridge, you're still the same, but so much more evolved. And I could see it.
Thank you very much. Yeah, Blue Ridge is a big gift for me in my life. I left Hollywood. I left everything behind. I moved to Nashville, Tennessee with my family. And I get a phone call from Gary Wheeler saying, I want to make this movie about this guy who leaves California, moves to a small town to be closer to his family.
That's so funny.
That's
manifestation.
I know. It's crazy. It's beautiful.
So this has been a very deeply moving conversation. Johnathon, I want to thank you for your honesty and your vulnerability, and to Dr. Robert Melillo and Ellis Melillo for guiding us through the science and artistry of the right and left brains. Thank you so much. And of course, to our listeners, to check out Johnathon Schaech in Blue Ridge, you can find him directly on Prime Video, and you can check him out directly on the gram at John Schaech. That's JOHNSCHAECH. And to learn more about Dr. Robert Melillo, you can check him out on his website at drrobertmelillo.com and on the gram at Dr. Robert Melillo. And to check out Ellis, you can check her out on IG at velvetellis_ and at the Right Brain Podcast. This has been the Right Brain segment on A Moment of Zen. We'll be right back after this. I'm your host, Zen Sams.
A Moment of Zen is brought to you by Your Home TV with Kathy Ireland and their channel partners. Head to yourhometv.com for free, family-friendly programming, streaming 24/7.
In business and in life, there's always an upside. Finding it is often the challenge. Having a mindset that looks for it and embraces problems as opportunities is the key to thriving. Finding the Upside with Maria de Lorenzis Reyes explores the transformative power of optimism, featuring visionary business owners, influential leaders, and inspiring everyday people. Tune in and see how they navigate changing conditions with optimism and innovation. Watch the special series One Tough Chick, highlighting resilient and powerful women, streaming on yourhometv.com.
Tune in to A Moment of Zen, Saturday nights from 9 to 10 p.m. on 710 WOR, the voice of New York.
Welcome back, beautiful tri-state area. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, iHeartRadio. I'm your host, Zen Sams. Welcome back to the Going Deep segment brought to you by CO2 Lift. We're joined by Kristina Menissov. She's a singer, a songwriter, an international model. She's graced the covers of Vogue, LATAM, LAFM, Elle Arabia. She's walked the runways of New York Fashion Week, Los Angeles Fashion Week, and Miami Swim Week. On the music side, she blends her classical opera training with contemporary pop, releasing charting singles with powerhouse producers like Andrew Lane. Her latest single, Geisha, entered the iTunes charts at number 94, and her soulful cover of Smooth Operator has surpassed 1 million YouTube views. She's been named Best Music Influencer and a rising star in music. She's bridging the worlds of fashion and global music, all while being a devoted mama. That's right. Welcome to the show, superstar.
Thank you so much, Zen. I'm so happy to be here. iHeart.
I'm so excited to have you. So let's take it back. Growing up, did you always see yourself pursuing both music and modeling, or did one passion come first? And how did you break into both industries?
Yeah, so originally I'm from Kazakhstan, and that's where I went to the music conservatory to be an opera singer. For the longest time, I didn't want to be just a pretty face. I wanted to be more. I wanted to leave a mark in a history, and I kept proving and proving to all my teachers that I'm not just a pretty face. I went to Italy after that to continue my classical training, but then, oh well, I fell in love, got pregnant, and had to take a break from music. Eventually, modeling came into my life as a way to provide. But it opened so many doors and built my confidence at the right time. And during COVID, that's when I came back to music. I started writing and expressing all my emotions. And here I am. That's
Wow.
an exciting, like, both worlds that I love now. And I accepted all of me.
And you combined it so eloquently with being a mother and embracing that better version of yourself. And the fashion industry is often seen as surface level, what we call, but in reality, it's incredibly demanding, both mentally and physically. I was signed to Elite New York when I was 17. I lived that world.
Well, I can tell. Gorgeous. Yes.
So you know what it's about. You've represented Chopard, Michael Costello, Givenchy, YSL. I read so many. Balmain and Cartier. That's my favorite. So you've said your diverse appearance has been both a challenge and an asset in your Instagram bio. You proudly state that you're making ethnically ambiguous a trend. So can you share a moment when your appearance was a challenge and a moment when it was a clear advantage?
So my mom is Kazakhstani, Asian, and my dad is Ethiopian, Black. And growing up, I kept hearing that it's going to be my asset, right? But then when I entered the modeling world, I started going to castings, but it was hard for people to process where should we put her with, right? I would arrive to castings when it says Asian, and they'll be like, well, sorry, not Asian enough. Then there would be like a description, we're looking for Black models. I arrive and they're like, well, you're light skinned. And I kept doubting myself. I was like, is it true? Or I'm kind of like in between, and it's cool. I could be versatile and I could match. But honestly, if they're looking for something, why would they have me who is half instead of just actually having person who represents? But then I had, I guess, to change my mindset, and that helped. I decided that I will turn it into my superpower. And instead of trying to fit into a box, I started building my own brand, my own label, just for people not to, for like brands, if they want to connect with me. It's because Kristina Menissov, right? It's not necessarily because I need to fit in that box or into another or that audition. It's because they want to work with me. And I think that helped. And now eventually I think I'm representing all the mixed kids who are here, there, everywhere, but in the meantime, nowhere. So we can be everything. We don't have to fit into a box.
There you go. Now, this past July, you released your single Geisha with a video on the way. It's going to be out any moment now. But when it comes to your music, what inspires your songwriting and creative process? And beyond your own artistic expression, what do you hope listeners take away from your songs?
Geisha was inspired by Memoirs of Geisha, that I was a child when I watched it, and that's how I opened up the whole new world for myself, and I started reading about it. It was fascinating. Geisha is an artist. And also being from Muslim country, I had this stigmas that being sexy and intimate is not good, and it's not right, and maybe it could be something to be ashamed of. But learning more about this culture, and I realized that there's nothing to be ashamed of being beautiful, sexual, intimate, because it actually helps to discover yourself inner and outside world as well. And that's how I started working. I went to the studio with Andrew Lane and I told him the idea. We started working in the process, and I distributed it with Universal Music Group, with my A&R, with help of my amazing A&R, Luciano Lane, and Alpha Recordings Group.
Wow, that resonates because streaming platforms really show that listeners are more likely to connect with music when they identify a personal story in the lyrics. Now, whether it's Fashion Week or Vogue covers, a sold-out concert, or the blue carpet premiere of Smurfs with your son, I mean, you're constantly in the public eye. And with so much focus on your appearance, How do you prioritize skincare? Because your skin is flawless. And where do treatments like CO2 Lift fit into your beauty routine to keep your complexion runway or blue carpet ready?
Okay, CO2 Lift fits into my purse. That's how amazing it is, and that's how powerful it is. You can have, it's so simple to use.
Just pulled it out. Okay. Pulled it right out of her bag.
I know, because I have it with me. If I have an hour and I feel like for example, yesterday I took a red eye and then I have a casting after that and I have a premiere of Downton Abbey. So, and my skin didn't look as good. And I was like, okay, we're just gonna, like, I have help. We're just gonna mix those two things. It's gonna become a jelly you put on your skin. It's better if you can have it on your skin for 45 minutes to an hour. It looks so funny when it's on, but you can make a bunch of TikToks. So we're keep going. We're working while hydrating, and then eventually you peel it off, and my skin looked glowing. Same I did today, and I'm gonna do it after that because in between I'll have to change the whole thing. Hydration is a key.
You know, everyone always has that secret weapon in their toolbox, and I love that yours is science-backed, science-infused. You and me are speaking the same language. Now let's move on. You're juggling two demanding careers, but also you're a single mom. So how do you balance it all? How do you personally recharge?
The secret is, I'm joking. Yes, no, I am. I'm trying to juggling it all. And I think the most important thing is to stay at the moment. If I'm going to a casting, I'm going to focus on that. But if I'm coming home, I'm going to be focused on my son. I'm just going to like move everything away. And sometimes not attentive mom could be even worse than absent person. So if I'm so tired that I just think I need a nap, then I'd rather go and take a nap and feel myself recharged. Philip Stein sleep bracelet helps me with that. Sleep beautifully, right? But then eventually I come fully recharged. I can go sing the songs to my son, to myself, the lullabies, and soothing moments with the people I love help me to continue juggling it all.
Yeah, that's inspiring. We all have a purpose. You clearly have yours. It's been very inspiring interviewing you, and I wish you nothing but success.
Thank you so much, Zen. I'm so happy to be here, and thank you, CO2 Lift.
Well, that was the incredible powerhouse Kristina Menissov. Follow her on Instagram at Kristina Menissov and at KristinaMenissov.com and keep up with her latest music and campaigns. She's all over social. You definitely want to tune into her inspiring music, incredible music videos, and more importantly, incredible voice. We're talking opera trained here. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, iHeartRadio. That was our Going Deep segment. We'll be right back after this.
A Moment of Zen is brought to you by CO2 Lift. As we age, our skin loses moisture and elasticity, causing wrinkled skin. You can reverse this aging process with CO2 Lift. CO2 Lift utilizes the powerful benefits of carbon dioxide to lift, tighten, and regenerate your skin. This simple, painless at-home carboxytherapy treatment is scientifically proven to reverse the aging process. You will see reduction in wrinkles, increase luminosity, and improve pigmentation, sagging, skin tone, and radiance.
For more information or to order CO2 Lift, ask your skincare professional or go to co2lift.com.
Welcome back to A Moment of Zen. I'm your host, Zen Sams. Welcome back to this week's Clean Collective Express segment brought to you by Society Brands and Clinomic. Now, you probably never think twice about it, but one of the biggest hidden health risks is sitting right in your kitchen right now. Plastic zip bags. That's right. They're everywhere. From snacks to sandwiches to leftovers, even in the freezer. They've become so normal that we don't even question them. But here's the part most people don't know. When plastic is heated, stressed, or even just used over time, it releases tiny fragments called microplastics. And those don't just disappear. They get into your food, into your water, and eventually into your body. They've been found in the bloodstream, in the vital organs, even in breast milk and placentas. They're linked to inflammation, hormonal disruption, fatigue, and digestive issues. Well, what if I told you you don't have to give up convenience and you don't have to change your routine? You just have to swap out the plastic. Clinomic zip bags look and feel just like the bags you're used to, but instead of petroleum-based plastic, they're made from a plant-powered cornstarch formula that breaks down naturally. They're fully compostable. So don't wait any longer. Head to clinomic.com and make the switch right now. Protect your food, protect your health, and give your body the break it deserves free from hidden microplastics. You're listening to A Moment of Zen. I'm your host, Zen Sams. We'll be right back after this.
A Moment of Zen is brought to you by Cleanomic. Cleanomic zip bags are certified compostable. They break down into nutrient-rich fertilizer that nourishes the earth. They're BPA-free, so no harmful chemicals leak into your food. Available in snack, sandwich, quart, and gallon sizes. They ship straight to your door. No more store runs. Plus, get free trash bags for life with the subscription. Protect your food and health from hidden microplastic particles by heading to cleanomic.com today.
Welcome back, beautiful tri-state area. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, iHeartRadio. I'm your host, Zen Sams. Welcome back to the Better, Brighter You segment brought to you by Suspera. From the stadium to the skincare clinic, Dr. Leanne Mack is here to break it all down on winning against sun, sweat, and skin stress. Dr. Mack is a board-certified dermatologist and founder of Glamderm, with locations in New York City and Scarsdale. She's widely recognized for her expertise in both medical and cosmetic dermatology, with a special focus on skin of color, hyperpigmentation, and advanced aesthetic treatments. She's also an educator, serving as assistant professor of clinical dermatology at Mount Sinai Medical Center, and a mentor to countless young women pursuing careers in medicine. Today, we're chatting how athletes' extreme environments reveal lessons that every New Yorker can use for healthier, brighter skin, with solutions that highlight the role of advanced treatments like Suspera. We're going to break it all down. Dr. Mack, welcome to the show, superstar.
Hi, thank you, Zen. Thanks for having me.
I'm so excited. So this athlete analogy is an analogy that feels close to a lot of New Yorkers, because New York athletes are no strangers to environmental extremes. The Yankees and Mets under blazing summer sun, the Giants and Jets battling freezing December winds. And in many ways, those same forces impact the skin of everyday New Yorkers who walk, commute, and live in these climates year round. So from a dermatology standpoint, what unique skin challenges do we New Yorkers and do New York athletes, most importantly, face compared to those in milder climates? And how do those challenges mirror what everyday New Yorkers deal with in their own routines?
We New Yorkers and New York athletes definitely face unique challenges in our environment, primarily because of seasonal variation. So we have these extremely cold, dry winters and these excruciatingly hot, dry, or humid rather, summers. And so during the winter months, athletes struggle with dry skin or xerosis, as well as chapped lips, windburn, and frostbite. People think that the UV index during the winter months is extremely low. And while that is true, skiers, for example, are at extremely high risk for UV exposure and or photo damage because of the reflection of the sun off of the ice and the snow. In the same way, during the summer months, the UV index shoots up and we are at risk for photo damage, and which increases ultimately our risk of skin cancer.
Yeah, that's such an important perspective, what you just said. I love that perspective. The analogy of the snow beaming off of, the sun and the rays, that's huge and it's impactful.
Yes. But also because we live in an urban environment, right? So there are tons of allergens and pollutants. People are at a higher risk for, let's say, contact allergens, as well as flares in eczema. Right. So let's not forget that we live in a city and there are tons of allergens and pollutants in our environment that we come into contact with day to day.
Oh, yeah. So much toxicity. And you're right. And that perspective reminds us that skin stress isn't just about age or beauty, but really about the environments we push through every single day. So thank you for that reminder. Mm-hmm. Now let's chat skin as the defensive line. All right. We're gonna chat football here. So in football, the defensive line protects the quarterback. It's literally the first shield. Our skin plays the same role for our body, protecting us against those pollutants that you talked about, that bacteria, those UV rays, and so much more. But just like in sports, when that defense weakens, performance suffers. So how does our skin serve as the body's first line of defense? And what are the key factors that can compromise that barrier?
Our epidermis, which is the outermost layer of the skin, serves to protect our skin from physical trauma like scratches or abrasions. But in addition, it also acts as a chemical barrier. So through our sweat, we're able to release antimicrobial properties that protect us against bacteria and other organisms. In addition, our skin has an immune defense, right? So we're able to protect ourselves from viruses and bacteria in the environment. And some people don't really understand that our skin helps to prevent dehydration. Our skin barrier is a very important part of the skin that helps us to hold onto moisture, preventing us from becoming dehydrated. And lastly, our skin, the melanin in our skin, so the darker your skin type, the more your skin protects you against UV radiation and the oxidative stress that comes along with photo damage.
Yeah. And now let's chat sun and hyperpigmentation. So hyperpigmentation is one of the top concerns in dermatology, and
Right.
athletes face constant triggers: sun exposure, friction from gear, even skin injuries. So for patients of color, these effects can be especially stubborn and very frustrating. So what role do sun, friction, and injury play in the development of hyperpigmentation, and where do clinically proven options like Suspera fit into prevention and treatment strategies?
I mean, we know that sun exposure is the number one driving force in melanin production from our melanocytes. So if you're having tons of sun exposure, you're putting yourself at higher risk for things like melasma, post-inflammatory hyperpigmentation, and age spots. So you want to minimize sun exposure, but friction, for example, I had a patient who was wearing a very tight hat on a very sunny day, and that hat kept rubbing on her forehead. She ended up getting these massive hyperpigmented patches because the hat just didn't fit her head. And then lastly, if your skin is injured, like let's say you're constantly getting nicks and cuts, it creates an environment of inflammation. And so part of the skin's natural healing process is to produce melanin. And so with injury, you have increased melanin production and thus hyperpigmentation. There are a number of things that we can do, but Suspera is definitely one of my first line treatments. I love the fact that you're able to apply it to a very broad area without essentially bleaching the skin. It contains a molecule called cysteamine that is an antioxidant that basically helps to digest pigment or melanin in the skin and also reduce pigment production. In addition to Suspera, we do offer a number of chemical peels and laser treatments.
Wow. I love that because hyperpigmentation affects so many people, and it's empowering to know that there are safe evidence-based options that actually work. And it's just, a lot of people don't know how to treat that. So, or don't know where to go to get treated. So thank you for at least providing that portal of a wealth of information, which is very empowering. Now let's chat designing a skin training program. So athletes and people who exercise a lot follow rigorous training regimens to perform at their best. And I imagine our skin would benefit from that same kind of disciplined, structured care, something more intentional than just a random collection of products, so to say. So if you were designing a simple skin training program for New Yorkers, what daily habits and treatments would be essential for keeping skin brighter, stronger, and more resilient?
As a native New Yorker, I'm always in a rush. So for New Yorkers, I think that creating a regimen that is simple is best. You do not need a 12-step skincare routine. You just need the right products. So for example, if you're suffering from hyperpigmentation, you could use a product like Suspera before starting your actual skincare regimen. So Suspera, for example, is applied to dirty skin in the morning. I prefer to do it in the morning. Dirty. So you need a little bit of oil. The studies showed that if it was applied to clean skin, it was more irritating. So when I apply it to my melasma on my upper lip, I'm waking up, not washing my face, applying it, and then getting ready for my day. So very simply, after I use my Suspera, and for New Yorkers, other New Yorkers, I would recommend a very simple skincare routine. When I think about skincare, I simply think during the day you protect, at night you repair. So during the day, you want to protect with something that's an antioxidant like vitamin C and an SPF 30 or higher. At night, to repair, you want to use a retinoid or a vitamin A derivative coupled with a moisturizer.
Now let's talk about myths and superstitions. So just like athletes have quirky superstitions, lucky socks, pregame rituals, the world of skincare is full of myths, shortcuts, and even unsafe practices. Some people still rely on unregulated creams or quick fixes that can actually make pigmentation worse and even skin irritations worse. So what are some of the most common skincare superstitions or misconceptions you see, and how do you redirect patients towards safe, effective solutions backed by science?
Patients come into my office all the time and they say, well, I ask them during a skin cancer screening, do you apply sunscreen daily? Well, I don't leave the house. I work from home. That is the number one thing that I'm hearing from days, especially after the pandemic. That is a misconception. Most people are either working close to a window, or they needed to drive to the Scarsdale location or take the subway and walk outside to get to the Manhattan location. So you're still getting some degree of sun exposure, even though it may be a short period of time. Also, we know that glass, like glass through a window or glass in a car, blocks UVB, not UVA. So you're still getting UV radiation. So that's myth number one. I don't need sunscreen if it's cloudy out, right? So that's a total misconception. Even though it's cloudy out, you're still getting a significant amount of UVB, which can cause burning. We know that UVA causes aging. Another misconception that I see is sweat-proof or waterproof sunscreens don't need to be reapplied. That is not true. All sunscreens do wear off with time and should be reapplied every 2 hours. And lastly, vitamin D. Patients come in all the time and say, I get sun exposure because my vitamin D is low. We are all vitamin D deficient in the Northeast, and I recommend not getting sun exposure, but actually taking a vitamin D supplement.
Right. Simple, effective, and to the point. Just like New Yorkers.
Just like New Yorkers.
All right. Well, Dr. Mack, thank you for sharing these incredible insights. I mean, from stadium sidelines to city sidewalks, I know our skin is working overtime, and hearing your strategies for keeping it strong and bright was truly inspiring and very informative.
Thank you, Zen. Thank you for having me.
Thanks again to our sponsor, Suspera, for reminding us that brighter, healthier skin is within reach with science that actually supports real results. If you'd like to learn more, you could visit Suspera.com and definitely follow the amazing Dr. Mack at GlamDerm. And you can check out glamderm.com directly on their website. You can get tons of information about both their locations, because when your skin is stronger, brighter, and healthier, you truly are your better, brighter you. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, iHeartRadio. We'll be right back after this.
A Moment of Zen is brought to you by Suspera. If skin discoloration is making it hard to find your Zen, Suspera can help. Stubborn pigmentation, dark spots, and uneven skin tone concerns go beyond the surface, affecting both confidence and self-expression. In a sea of skincare choices, Suspera stands apart. Backed by science and trusted by dermatologists worldwide, Suspera is powered by the advanced cysteamine isobonic amide complex, delivering clinically proven results and effectively targeting mild to persistent discoloration while restoring the skin's natural glow. Unlike harsh treatments, Suspera is formulated for all skin types, including sensitive areas, ensuring visible improvements without irritation. Whether pigmentation is a new concern or a long-standing struggle, Suspera works in harmony with the skin to bring balance, clarity, and renewed confidence. Suspera is science-driven skincare for confidence that shines. Find your skin zen and restore your glow with Suspera today by heading to Suspera.com. A Moment of Zen is brought to you by Your Home TV with Kathy Ireland and their channel partners. Head to yourhometv.com for free, family-friendly programming, streaming 24/7.
The Kelly Williams Show is brought to you by Serendipity Yacht Cruises and Events. Tune in and turn on your happy. Kelly Williams is full of energy and incredible guests. Watch her anytime, free programming on Your Home TV network, and do follow her on social media for a chance to win monthly prizes. Check out The Kelly Williams Show on yourhometv.com.
Tune in to A Moment of Zen, Saturday nights from 9 to 10 p.m. on 710 WOR, the voice of New York.
We are at the end of our date, my dear friends. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm your host, Zen Sams. Remember to join me right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, every Saturday night from 9 to 10 p.m. Or you could head to 710WOR.iHeart.com/A Moment of Zen. And also remember that we're live on Traverse TV Sundays at 1 p.m. Eastern. YouTube, we upload Sundays at 2 p.m. Eastern, and all episodes of A Moment of Zen are available on your home TV streaming platform. You can head directly to our channel. It's absolutely free programming to you, no downloads, no apps needed. mox.yourhometv.com. Thank you for listening to us. It's been an absolute pleasure being your host tonight. Thanks again to all of our sponsors that continue to make this show possible. And remember that happiness is the only thing that multiplies when you share it. We'll be back next week.